COM 110 students, we are now going to review Chapter 6 based on nonverbal communication, and we're going to look at nonverbal messages specifically. First, we're going to start with the reason why we want to study nonverbal communication. And the first reason is when you use it effectively and when you follow the principles that we'll talk about in this chapter, it increases your attraction. That means that people are attracted to you. This doesn't just mean romantically. It means managers are attracted to you, neighbors are attracted to you, friends are attracted to you, family members are attracted to you, and that means they want to spend time and attention with you. They want to spend time with you and give you attention. The reason why it's so important to be attractive to other people and to be the type of person that people want to spend time with is because of social support. And social support just means we have people that we spend time with, that we interact with, that we talk to, that enables our physical health to be well. Also, our psychosocial health, which means we don't have depression, we don't have so much stress that we become physically sick because we have a social support network, people we can talk to, vent our frustrations, get ideas from, and then make changes in our life. Without anybody to bounce ideas off of or to just have fun with and enjoy, you will not be as physically or emotionally well as you could be. Popularity is also important, obviously, not because life's a popularity contest, not because you're still in high school and you need to be the most popular person, but what that means is, again, people want to be with you. You're the person that everybody in the office comes to because you're an easy person to communicate with and your nonverbal behavior doesn't make them uncomfortable or doesn't contradict your message. It also gives us success in interpersonal communication situations such as healthcare, politics, intimate relationships, organizational relationships, teacher-student relationships, and finally also in the courtroom. Now you may think to yourself, well, politics, I'm never going to get into politics. Well, that's probably true, but I will tell you that there will be some personal experience you have that will lead you to want to make a change. And when that happens, you will probably have to go meet with a politician or you'll have to present to some group in the political arena, and you want to have nonverbal behaviors that are appropriate, that are professional, that people are attracted to you, they do like you. I have 2 boys with muscular dystrophy, and the reason why I bring this up, I think I've told you guys before, but I can't remember. There was a particular law that was being passed in Congress, and truly it was a policy, not a law, but I had to go meet with my local congressional representative in order to get him to support this policy that would significantly help my kids and significantly improve the care that they were receiving. And I have to tell you that I very much wanted him to like me, not because I necessarily care what he thought of me, but if he liked me, he would care more for my boys, he would care more for their care, and he would just relate to us because there was a similarity in the way that we approach things. There was a similarity in the way that we maybe made facial expressions, or the eye contact I made really endeared him to me. And that was so important to get his buy-in for this particular law that I needed him to put his stamp of approval on. Courtroom, you never know when you're going to end up in court. You could get a divorce, you could get a DUI, you could be part of a large class action suit. You want to be able to do things effectively so that you can get what you need in a courtroom, and that whatever the ruling is, that it's favorable to you. And teacher-student relationships, those are also very important. Obviously, it doesn't affect us as much, but you guys can tell that sometimes I'll use emoticons, and you may think, why is she putting a smiley face in here? Simply because I want you to know that I care about you. I'm reading your work. It matters to me what you say, and even if you're not doing exactly what I asked, I want you to know that I'm gently telling you what I would like to see next time. I'm not reprimanding you in a mean or harsh way. There's a couple of myths about nonverbal communication I also want to talk about. One is that it conveys more meaning than verbal communication or verbal messages. I don't think that's at all true. I think they both carry equal weight. Sometimes, though, we need to probably believe words instead of the nonverbal, when I think sometimes what we do is the opposite. We believe the nonverbal and not the verbal. It is a myth to say that liars avoid eye contact. If you remember, if you watched the YouTube clip that I put in last week's lecture, liars don't always avoid eye contact. They may briefly look up to the left or the right, but they will make eye contact. They won't avoid it, but they'll do different things with their eyes. So don't think that that's true, especially with your teenage children. Studying nonverbal communication will help you catch liars? No, it just won't. There's nothing about it that's going to be able to give you the 3 things to look for if somebody is lying. It's not as cut and dry as that. Nonverbal communication is not universal. That means it varies dependent on the gender of the person, and it varies dependent on culture. It varies dependent on how you were brought up, even parts of the country. So if you were born in the South, you may do some things that people in the Northwest simply don't. So don't ever think that it's universal. And last but not least, that when verbal messages and nonverbal messages contradict, that you should believe the nonverbal. Again, I think they both carry certain weight, and sometimes you're going to have to believe what they say, even when their nonverbal communication tells you something completely different. So that's another myth. It's not always the best course of action to believe the nonverbal communication. Next are the principles of nonverbal communication, and the first one is that nonverbal messages interact with verbal messages. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we just went over this last week when we talked about verbal messages having a package, and part of that package is the nonverbal message coincides with it. Again, we have accent, complement, contradict, control, repeat, and substitute, and you can read about those from page 139 to 140. Next is nonverbal messages help manage impressions, and we have to go back now and remember, what were those impressions? Well, to be liked, when you smile, when you pat another person on the back, when you shake hands, it's going to help you do that. To be believed, you can use open gesture, a firm stance. You're not fidgeting and you make focused eye contact. That may help you be believed. In order to excuse failure, you may look sad, cover your face with your hands, or shake your head. To secure help, you might use open hand gestures, a puzzled look, or inept movements. To hide faults, you might avoid self-adapters, and self-adapters are things like maybe playing with your hair, clearing your throat excessively, maybe wiping your upper lip, or pursing your lips. Those are all self-adapters, and we'll learn more about those when we get to the channels of nonverbal communication. To be followed, you might dress the part of a leader. You may also display things like awards, maybe certificates that you have in your cubicle or at your house to help you, again, be followed. To confirm self-image and to communicate whatever that self-image is to others, dressing in a certain way, how you decorate your house, what kind of stickers do you put on your car, what things do you put on your binder, what things are on your backpack. Those are all going to help you confirm self-image. And we'll talk more about territoriality when we get into the channels. Next is nonverbal messages help us form relationships, and that is very true. How else are you going to communicate affection? How else are you going to show somebody you love them? You have to do those things nonverbally. It's a very important component. Showing somebody you love them is often more important than necessarily telling you. You should tell people you love them, but you also should show them so that they believe both things. So hugging people and kissing people and pulling them close to you, those things are very important. At the same time, you can also communicate displeasure, anger, animosity. All of those things are obviously going to help the formation of a relationship. Sometimes it helps that relationship fall apart as well. You're also going to use some signals to communicate your dominance in a relationship and also your status. So the person who's in the large corner office is going to do things differently non-verbally than maybe the receptionist who is sitting behind the front desk. Next is nonverbal messages structure conversation, and what that means, you give and receive cues, and those are signals, and they're turn-taking cues. And we're going to talk about this more when we get over to chapter 8, which is conversational messages. But if I want to take a turn, there's nonverbal cues I'm going to give. If you want to interject something, there's a nonverbal cue that you'll also give. And that's how we're going to structure our conversation based on the nonverbal aspects. Nonverbal messages can influence and deceive. We can certainly lie to people, but we also can influence people. We can say things to people. We can use gestures and use eye contact and use our appearance to influence people. How they view us is going to be influenced. And then last but not least, nonverbal messages express emotions. There's lots of ways that we can show emotions through nonverbal messages. So you can fold your arms and show that you're displeased. You can open your arms, put them on your hips to show that you're confident. You can make your eyes real big to show that you're surprised, or you can narrow your eyes to show hurt. So there's lots of ways that we can use nonverbal messages, not just your eyes, but all of the channels that we're going to talk about now. All of these channels can help us express emotion.